What's going on, guys? So in a previous video I worked on a rusty sword and I restored that, and that turned out really nice. And then later on I took on another project where I restored a replica of a medieval mace, and that also turned out really great. Now in today's video, I'm going to be working on this old rusty meat cleaver that I got for free. Now it's in pretty bad shape, but when I'm done with it, it's going to look really nice and it's going to be worth a lot more. This antique meat cleaver has been sitting for who knows how long, and it's covered in a thick layer of rust, and before I can restore it, I'm going to soak it in white vinegar for 48 hours. And the reason I'm using white vinegar is because rust is made of iron oxide, which forms when iron reacts with oxygen and moisture over time. Now, white vinegar contains acetic acid. That's a mild acid that slowly reacts with the rust, and it helps break it down. And as the vinegar works, it loosens its bond between the rust and the metal underneath, making it much easier to scrub away later without grinding into the blade. So basically, I'm going to let science do all the hard work. It's been 48 hours and the vinegar has had plenty of time to work on the rust. Now it's time to see how much of a difference it made. So I'm going to use a wire brush and start scrubbing all the rust off that the vinegar helped break down. But it's not a magic trick. It's still going to take a ton of elbow grease to get this old blade cleaned up. But I'm already starting to see the original metal showing through, so that's a really good sign. But I still have a long ways to go. But this antique meat cleaver is finally starting to look like a tool again instead of just a rusty piece of scrap metal. After removing all the rust off the blade, it's already looking much better, but it still has a long ways to go. All the years of wear and corrosion have left the metal looking rough and very uneven. So to bring this blade back to life, I'm going to use a very high grit sandpaper with a small amount of oil, and I'm carefully hand sanding the blade. And the goal is to smooth out every mark and scratch in the metal. And it's a very slow process that takes a lot of patience, but with time and enough sanding, the blade will start having a mirror-like finish, and it will look better than it has in years. This blade is starting to look very nice, but it's still not completely finished. But after all that sanding, the metal is starting to develop a mirror-like shine, and seeing that reflection come back into the steel makes all this hard work worth it. But there's still plenty of areas that the sandpaper couldn't reach. So for those tight spaces, I'm switching over to my rotary tool with these small sanding attachments. And this will let me clean up all these detailed areas around the handle and all the small areas with corrosion that have been hiding away for years. Now it's a slow process, but every little detail brings this old meat cleaver one step closer to looking brand new again. The restoration of this antique meat cleaver is almost finished, but before I can put this cleaver back to work, I need to sharpen its edge. So to bring the edge back to life, I'm using a whetstone, and I'm slowly working the blade across the surface at a consistent angle. Now listen, maintaining the same angle on every pass is one of the most important parts of sharpening because it creates an even cutting edge from one end of the blade to the other end. Now as the blade moves across the stone, tiny amounts of metal are removed, gradually refining the edge and making it thinner and sharper. And this isn't something you can rush. Letting the stone do the work and staying patient produces a much better result than just applying too much pressure. And then with each pass, the edge becomes more polished, more consistent, and you get closer to that razor sharp edge. So by the time I'm done with this old rusty meat cleaver, it won't just look restored, it will be sharper than it has been in years. The next step, I'm going to seal the handle with a clear coat, but don't worry, I've already wrapped the blade in painter's tape to protect the blade from any clear coat that might accidentally get on the metal. And surprisingly, this wood is not in that bad a shape after all these years. I'm guessing they had some kind of seal on the handle originally. Now applying this clear protective finish helps seal the wood and slow down future wear and tear while locking out all the moisture. And it's also going to help the wooden handle stay bonded to the metal underneath, giving this old meat cleaver the best chance of lasting for a very long time. And it also makes the handle look nice too. Alright guys, it's finally finished, and it's hard to believe that this is the same meat cleaver that we started out with after seeing the condition it was in. But the blade is razor sharp, the handle is sealed and protected and cleaned up, and it almost looks brand new again. And now the only thing left to do is put it to the test and see how it holds up.